July 28, 1841, Hoboken, New Jersey. Mary Rogers washed up dead in the Hudson, lace-soaked and wrists marked, 3 days after she vanished from Broadway. So how did New York lose the beautiful cigar girl in plain sight? On ordinary days, Mary's world smelled like tobacco leaf and wet wool. Men in stiff collars crowded a narrow shop, coins clinking on wood as they asked for cigars and stayed too long. Outside, carts rattled over stones and the city talked, always talked. In 1841, reputation could lift you up fast and drop you even faster. Mary was famous in a small, dangerous way. She worked at John Anderson's cigar shop, where customers came as much to see her as to buy anything. Newspapers and poems turned her into a public figure, even though she was just a young working woman behind a counter. People called her the beautiful Cigar Girl, like it was her real name. Her family story was not glamorous. Mary came from Lyme, Connecticut, and after her father died, she and her mother, Phoebe, chased survival to New York. Jobs for respectable women were rare, and every dollar came with judgment attached. The cigar shop paid, and the city noticed. Then came the first strange warning. In 1838, Mary vanished for a short time and returned alive, setting off a storm of rumors. Some papers treated it like a hoax, some treated it like scandal, and the truth never settled. What mattered was this. After that, people said she seemed quieter, more guarded, as if she had learned how quickly a crowd can turn. Phoebe later ran a boarding house, and Mary helped there, serving meals and greeting lodgers. Suitors came with the rent money. One admired her openly, but Mary chose Daniel Payne, a young man with modest work and no powerful family. Phoebe wanted better, and the tension sat in the house like smoke that never cleared. Sunday, July 25th, 1841 began like a normal summer morning. Mary went to church, neat and composed, then told Daniel she planned to visit a relative on Bleecker Street. He expected to meet her later and walk her home. By afternoon, dark clouds rolled in, and rain hammered the streets hard enough to empty them. That storm may have saved someone time, or erased someone's trail. Daniel decided not to go out in the downpour, assuming Mary would stay put and return Monday. But Monday came bright and hot, and Mary never walked through the door. When Daniel checked the address she named, the woman there said she had not seen Mary at all. Now the city had a missing person, and not many tools to find one. New York was growing faster than its policing could handle, and chaos hid in the edges. Mary's face was known, but faces do not protect you on a crowded street. The search spread through shops, boarding houses, and ferry landings, and it found nothing. On Wednesday, July 28th, men near the Hoboken shore spotted something pale in the water. They rowed closer, thinking it was cloth, then realized it was a body. Word traveled fast, and a crowd formed as if pulled by a magnet. Soon, someone who knew Mary confirmed the fear. It was her. The examination that followed turned grief into horror. Investigators reported bruises, signs of binding, and a death by strangulation, with clothing disturbed and then put back in haste. One small detail stuck in the public mind. A crude knot, the kind people claimed a sailor might tie. Whether that detail meant anything or nothing, the city treated it like a clue from the dead. The police questioned the obvious circle first. Daniel Payne looked like the easy answer, but witnesses backed his story of where he spent the stormy day. Other men were hauled in and released just as quickly. In a case built on rumor and incomplete records, every alibi became a battlefield. Meanwhile, newspapers took control of the case. Each new edition promised answers and delivered angles instead. One paper hinted at a jealous lover, another at a gang, another at a secret rendezvous across the river. The more the story sold, the more the story grew, and the real Mary Rogers shrank into a symbol. In September, another discovery fed the fire. Clothing and personal items were found in a thicket near Hoboken, not far from a tavern that served day trippers. A woman there said she remembered a young couple and a scream in the night she had dismissed as an animal. Investigators noted trampled grass and a path toward the river, as if something heavy had been dragged. Now the mystery had a stage: woods, a tavern, and the water's edge. The public imagined Mary walking with a tall, handsome stranger, then vanishing into trees. But imagination is not evidence, and the stranger was never found. The case stayed open, yet it stopped moving forward. Daniel Payne did not survive the story. In early October, he crossed to Hoboken, drank heavily, and took laudanum near the place tied to Mary's death. A note on him begged forgiveness for a misspent life, and people fought over what that meant. Some called it a confession. Others saw a young man crushed by grief and gossip. A year later, the case lurched back into the headlines with a deathbed confession. The same tavern keeper claimed Mary died during a secret, illegal medical attempt to end a pregnancy, and that others panicked and disposed of the body. But that story clashed with earlier reports of strangulation and binding, and it arrived at the worst possible time, when the public wanted closure more than truth. The city's whispers widened to include Madame Restel, a notorious name linked to clandestine abortions in New York. It was the kind of accusation that fit the era's fears, even when proof was thin. If Mary had been pregnant, it could explain secrecy, blackmail, and a desperate meeting. But it still did not explain the violence described at the river. So what likely happened? The honest answer is that we have 3 lanes, and each has holes. Lane 1 is murder by an unknown man or group, with the Hoboken woods as the trap. Lane 2 is a private crisis turned fatal, then disguised badly in panic. Lane 3 is that the press and poor policing shattered the timeline so completely that the real chain of events can't be rebuilt. Edgar Allan Poe turned that uncertainty into literature. Starting in late 1842, he reshaped the case into The Mystery of Marie Roget, trying to reason his way to an answer from newspaper accounts. That move kept Mary's name alive, but it also froze her into a puzzle. The real person became harder to see behind the clever arguments. What remains is a grim lesson about big cities in a new media age. A young working woman became famous without power, then disappeared in a storm, and a river delivered her back as a public object. The investigation stalled, the headlines moved on, and the theories multiplied like weeds. Even the landmarks tied to the story changed, rebuilt, or vanished. But the Hudson is still there, and so is the question. This case matters because it shows how quickly a narrative can replace evidence when people feel afraid. If you want more Untold American stories like this, subscribe for the next one. Do you think Mary Rogers was killed by a stranger or swallowed by a secret that the city refused to name?